And we're back with Pro Wrestling Talk Radio. Jay on the line with Stu, David, and Charlie. I wanted to bring up a topic to discuss with you guys because I've been sensing some things. Like I look at Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, and I try to compare the shows to each other, and I see that SmackDown is a much, much, much better show than Monday Night Raw. I've always described it in this sense that SmackDown, it's kind of like, you know, it's consistent. Monday Night Raw, you can have a great episode of Raw. You can have an absolutely horrible episode the next week, and it just goes up, down, up, down, up, down. But as I started to look closely at Friday Night SmackDown, I see how they treat their superstars over there as opposed to what goes on Monday Night Raw. I would just throw out a couple of names like Dolph Ziggler, Jack Swagger, Zack Ryder from Monday Night Raw. Then you look over to Friday Night SmackDown at people like Sheamus. Then you also have Daniel Bryan, Wade Barrett, Cody Rhodes. Like, do you guys see the differences in how SmackDown treats up-and-coming talent as opposed to what goes on Monday Night Raw? Because from what I can see, the up-and-coming superstars on Monday Night Raw are just treated as accessories. Because if you look at the WWE Championship situation, even though Dolph Ziggler is the number one contender for the WWE Championship, he's an accessory in what he should be a featured player. Like, I feel like if that feud on Raw was like a Broadway play or something, Dolph Ziggler wouldn't even be one of the actors. He would be like a couch in the damn background that's a part of the set or something like that. But if you look over on SmackDown, they actually treat their up-and-coming talent like featured players. Look at the feuds with Wade Barrett and Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. Like, what do you guys think about this situation?
I totally agree with you. The only thing is, last SmackDown, the ending was pretty piss poor, but it's professional wrestling.
We'll talk about that also.
Yeah. But anyway, SmackDown, I've been singing the praises of SmackDown since I first got onto this show. SmackDown is the true A show. If you're fed up with the Raw, with what's going on with Monday Night Raw, come on over because SmackDown is the promised land. There's more wrestling. You get 40 minutes of wrestling. And another thing, both shows are an hour and 36 minutes without commercials. How the hell is there only 20 minutes of wrestling if you get lucky on Raw? But SmackDown, they always exceed that. Double the amount of wrestling. 40 to 50 minutes of wrestling every single week. And great matches. Nothing less than 3 stars. They're having a little bit of a star problem because Randy Orton is hurt right now and Sin Cara and Christian. But once they get back, this show is going to be even more better than what it already is. And the fact that the SmackDown writers can make guys like The Big Show and Daniel Bryan, of all people, feel important without Randy Orton and stuff, it's just a testament to how good they are. I mean, the SmackDown writers make some really good shows. And I recommend that if you haven't watched SmackDown before, if you didn't watch, look, just go record it, watch it on the internet, however you can. Because if you want to see some good wrestling, they have it right now. Daniel Bryan is doing a great job. He's playing, I'm going to get a lot of heat for saying this, but he's playing a character that doesn't deserve to hold the belt. Hell, the belt is bigger than him. But I like that. He's really playing up as this guy. It's like Chris Jericho when he won the Undisputed Championship. It's like, what the hell is he doing with the belt? Someone beat him, please. And that's the first time in a while where I've wanted somebody to take the belt from a heel. He's doing a great job.
I gotta say, the whole thing with Daniel Bryan on SmackDown, I've been liking it. I've been liking his run there, to be honest with you. Honestly, I know that people find his character boring or whatever, but that's kind of the thing. I don't need all my champions to be. I don't need all my champions to be wonders on the mic. I don't need all my champions to be all that great. I don't need all that great in terms of talking. As long as they're good workers, as long as they can make up for it by making a paper bag look good in the ring, then that's fine with me. And Lord knows that Daniel Bryan has some of that ability and then some. He is one of those guys who can make his opponent look very, very good. That's exactly what he did on NXT. He proved his worth there, and now he's holding the belt as a World Heavyweight Champion. They're working his character out. They're working out the kinks, and I kind of like where they're going with his character now, especially. I didn't think that I'd like a Daniel Bryan heel turn. I'm starting to like it. As for SmackDown as a whole, I think it's a very good show. Absolutely, I love the wrestling portion of it. It's not really supposed to be the storyline show, not really anyway. But it's really what a wrestling show in the big time should be. It's basically wrestling centered, action centered, and all around just a rip roaring good time with not as much storyline bullcrap bogging stuff down. So as for how the wrestlers are treated, yeah, they're treated very good. Everyone gets a chance to shine. If TNA did the same exact thing, they'd probably still be in the Monday Night Wars right now. But no, they had to go and bog their stuff down with storyline shit.
I like SmackDown. I think it's a solid show. I've never called it great. I think it thrives off how bad Raw is. I think Raw's 20 minutes of wrestling is not as big a problem as TNA's friggin' 15 minutes of wrestling. But as far as SmackDown goes, I think the young guys are showcased more because there is one star on SmackDown who is now hurt. So you kind of have to showcase the young guys because they make up 99.9% of the damn roster on SmackDown. I like the show. You get a lot of matches, which for TV, I mean, it's not something I necessarily need. I'm more big into TV is for storyline progression, but it's nice to have a nice little wrestling show on TV, wrestling-based show on TV every week. So I do enjoy the show.
I don't want to take anything away from SmackDown whatsoever. I know you can say, they may be pushing the young guys because we have like big stars like Randy Orton out, but I think they were doing that even before Randy Orton went out on an injury.
Yeah, because he's the only superstar. If they don't do it, then they don't showcase anybody.
But I mean, they structured the show in that way. So I mean, with them having all of those guys over on SmackDown, I get you have to expect that they were going to do that. So I think it's great that they are doing that. They're showcasing the young guys and things like that. And yes, Monday Night Raw, it kind of like sucks a lot of the time. Last week, case in point, horrible show. But I think SmackDown stands on its own. Even when you take Monday Night Raw out of the equation, I think SmackDown stands on its own as a pretty good show. And if I'm being honest, I don't even think Randy Orton is like really injured. I think he's just, on vacation, chilling at home with his family and things like that. I think somebody said he tweeted, asking people how does he set up his Xbox or something like that. So he's, he's on a vacation, and I think it's a well-deserved vacation. If you look at like some of the big stars over on SmackDown right now, those up-and-coming guys, they are stars now because of Randy Orton, because of him ushering them to that higher platform. So I think that's all cool. And for WWE, if this thing with Randy Orton, if it's not like a legit injury, for them to sit him out on the sidelines, it shows how much confidence they have in everybody else on SmackDown, that they would step up and still be able to put on a quality show without a big star like Randy Orton there. So I think SmackDown is a pretty good show. And I talked about how we can relate what's going on in SmackDown and put that in opposition to what's going on over on Monday Night Raw. And one of the names that I mentioned was Zack Ryder. On this last episode of Raw, he lost his United States Championship to Jack Swagger in a pretty controversial fashion. Did you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it makes total sense to have Jack Swagger as a U.S. champion because, he's the All-American American. The problem is, I can't remember the last time he won a match on TV. Hell, I don't even remember the last time he won a match at a house show. So it's not a very, and especially what happened afterwards.
Wait a minute, but did you know that Jack Swagger is a former world champion?
I try not to.
He is a former world champion.
I also try not to remember that he beat Randy Orton cleanly. But anyway, the thing about it was, I thought this was going to be a new beginning. As soon as they started saying he's a world champion, I said, yeah, he's on his way to getting the push.
Yep.
But when he got called out for Cena, I was like, oh, God, this is not going to end well. And then Cena just ran. You know what? I'm just going to say it flat out. Cena ran the train on him. I'm not going to explain what that is on the show, kids. You just go find that out yourselves. Cena destroyed Swagger, and it just kind of really destroyed what was going to help Swagger being a U.S. champion. Now, and he comes out next week, is going to be like, I'm the U.S. champion, and the people are going to be, they're not going to take him seriously because he looks like he talks like a doofus, and he just got treated like a doofus by Cena, So it's like what happened to Wade Barrett. Well, at least Wade Barrett's doing good, but I remember when Wade Barrett fought Cena on the live SmackDown once, one of the first live SmackDowns in 2011, and he got destroyed. He got jobbed out. You know, it's what they constantly do this with John Cena, and a lot of people like to say, "Oh, it's John Cena's fault. He's not putting anyone over." It's the creative team's fault. You cannot. I'm sorry, Kyler Nuvra. I didn't really do that impression very well. I'm slipping these days, I know. But anyway, as far as with Jack Swagger's concerned, he's in a very vulnerable position right now, and when you put him up against guys like John Cena, you know, the creative team are the only ones to blame here. They can't keep writing these guys.
Okay, in defense of the Cena haters, doesn't John Cena seem like he's in a position to say that shouldn't have happened? We can't do that.
That is true, but we also have to remember, Miz did win at WrestleMania. Granted, he just barely won, and I don't even think he still remembers whether or not he won. But you know, he has put a couple of people over. But I think he should be doing more. I totally agree with that. But at the end of the day, this roster, I can agree with what some Cena haters are saying. He should have put a lot more people over. It's because the roster is so thin right now. They're at a very sensitive moment right now. It's like this roster is as bad as 1994. And yes, cool guy 971. This is the black guy talking.
Very nice. White person talking now. Anyway, the whole thing with Jack Swagger. Where do I even start with this? He's basically as entertaining as a pap smear right now. I have seen dead rats with better mic skills, but in ring he's an absolute beast. He can be a monster heel, and he can do that very, very well as long as you never have him talk. I mean, if you want him to talk because he's such a dipshit and that's what you want his character to be, fine, so be it. I can get that. But you know, every time he says like, you know, Jack Swagger or something like that, like, you know, honest to God, it's like Donald Duck put his dick in a chia pet and it farted this guy out. It's amazing how much of a dipshit this guy looks like. Looks like a pothead chia pet. He wrestles very good, but I just can't. I mean, I can take him seriously. Don't get me wrong. Very good physical specimen, but he needs a lot of work on the mic.
I'm not a big fan of Jack Swagger. I really don't care about the U.S. title to begin with, so I guess he can run around with it for a little bit, and that's completely fine.
The situation is basically that Jack Swagger winning the United States Championship, it wasn't about Jack Swagger. It wasn't even about the championship. It wasn't about Zack Ryder. It basically echoed the comments I made a couple of minutes ago, how the up-and-coming talent on Monday Night Raw is used for enhancement purposes. They're used as accessories to other people. I think what we're going through right now, basically, nearly like half the damn roster is focused on John Cena and building him up for WrestleMania with The Rock. Like, that's basically all that's going on right now. So the new United States champion, he had to get his ass whooped just so John Cena can look good and they can continue to add layers to his character as he goes into his match with The Rock at WrestleMania. Now, on one hand, I don't think that that's, you know, quite fair, but then I do like that they are enhancing John Cena's character. Like, if you look at what's going on with him and Kane wants John Cena to embrace the hate, and John Cena, he's this type of guy, he's like kind of like selfless, you know, he cares more about other people than he does himself. So Kane is basically using Zack Ryder to get to John Cena and get exactly what he wants out of John Cena. And John Cena was pretty interesting on this last episode of Raw. I've always wanted him to show some aggression in his character, add a little bit of edge to him, and he really did that on Raw. I'm not necessarily saying that, you know, go full-blown heel turn. Like, I don't scream that about John Cena, but I do want to see changes in his character, and I think with what's going on with him and Kane right now, that's like opening the door to some of those changes to prepare him for WrestleMania. And speaking
Pro Wrestling Talk Radio, the show where wrestling fans rate and debate the hottest topics in the world of wrestling and are respectful.
If Mark Henry lost that belt, I would have been pissed, especially this jobber who's randomly carrying around this blue briefcase.
Whoa. Oh my God.
And courteous manner.
Why not have Undertaker versus Kane with the mask on? Come on.
No!
Yes. Yeah. No.
Yeah, absolutely not. How many times do I have to put this in your head? No, bad.
Yeah, you keep bringing it up. No, absolutely not. I mean, buried alive.
It would suck.
So make sure you tune into Pro Wrestling Talk Radio, live Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern on PWFEmpire.com for some good, wholesome fun.
This is like Kane's, what, 4th or 5th return?
But it had the mask in it. It gives him powers.
Who gives a...